Oi boys, welcome to another video on the channel. Wow, what a couple of games. Games 2 and 3 of the quarterfinals of the Rugby League World Cup. First of all, Papua New Guinea, they bow out of the competition after yet another dominance display by the English, and I tend to agree with the sentiments of hold the ball. He had talked about the short turnaround for PNG could be a little too much for them, and although it did play a factor, yet again, their discipline lets them down, but it was another solid effort from the English, who, with Australia, have been the form teams of the competition. Mackinson picking up 5, writes his name down in the history book. Now, that was a nice appetizer, but boys, were you ready for the next match? Because I tell you, I wasn't ready for that effort that Fiji put in. That was some game, easily the game of the tournament so far. Fiji instill pride in their jersey and in their supporters as they go the distance with the Kiwis and unfortunately fall short. Let's talk about it. Alright, so there is plenty of flowers to give. First of all, I do want to salute the Fijians for their effort. The whole team from 1 to 17 played out of their skin. I had thought that it would be competitive for at least the first 20 minutes, but I found that as the game progressed, first 20 I was thinking to myself, alright, Fiji's looking a little fatigued, maybe this is when the New Zealanders start to click or kick into gear. But no, Fiji did not falter. I mean, they were fatigued, but they just kept showing up for each other in defense, man. It was an inspiring performance, to say the least. But yeah, I kept having the same thoughts in 10-minute increments. They just kept showing up and showing up. As for the Kiwis, now to start the game, they were extra aggressive, but they were getting pinged for being offside. They were just flying out of the line too early. I did notice there was a bit of extra spice in their tackles. You know, they were throwing their weight around, getting all niggly around the ruck. Maybe trying to throw the Fijians off, but the Fijians met that aggression, took the hits and gave some back. Man, I urge you, if you didn't watch the game, you should check it out. Definitely one to watch. Yeah, so for the first half, super competitive. Even in the second half, it was super competitive up until a controversial decision that ultimately, do I want to say decided the game, decided the outcome? It's tough, man, it's tough. I mean, you could definitely make a case because the call was just flat out wrong, in my opinion. You know, that's one thing I've noticed about the UK officiating, particularly in the bunker or the video referee. We've seen way too many times now this tournament where there's absolutely no logic being used when making a call on foul play. Like that play in particular, when they saw two defenders attempting to tackle Joey Manu, neither attempted to strip the ball. But because there was two defenders in the tackle and Joey drops it, in my opinion, from what I've seen at least, they get the benefit of the doubt. In the context of the game, that happened with 10 minutes to go in the match. The Kiwis put 2 points on the board, but in saying all that, Fiji, they did get some opportunities on their line, on the Kiwi line, and their attack was, just non-existent. No one really took control, and they just made some really bad errors, which is a shame, really. Let's get back to the positives of the game and give out some flowers to some outstanding performances from both sides. We'll start with the Fijians here. A bit tough to single out players because they really did have a great game as a unit, particularly that whole forward pack. A couple names came to mind though. Sandrugu, I thought looked pretty hectic. So did Willie Kikau. Kikau going up against Nelson Asafa Solomona. That was quite the battle. Truly a clash of titans. Suaalii Turuva, the head-to-head with Manu. I think Turuva actually got the better of him. The Fijian pack, they, for the most part, had clamps on Joey Manu, particularly in that first half, but, you know, when fatigue eventually settled in, Joey Manu started to, do what he does best. Mika Sivo, he was bombarded with bombs all night long and he kept making the catches. I think the only one that he dropped ended up being a penalty. But yeah, did well under the high ball and he had some really tough carries. I thought Api Koroisau played well, as did Brandon Wakeham. Bit of a coming out party maybe for Brandon. Mostly a Bulldogs reserve grade player. Couple hiccups, but overall I think he did way more good. Another young back rower in Siwa Wong. I believe he's only 18 years old, man. He was pretty solid in both attack and defense. Tui Kamikamitha, the Melbourne Storm unit, just, matching that physicality of the Kiwi pack. Speaking of the Kiwis, like I said, Joey Manu, easily their best player, as he's been all tournament. The Kiwis outside backs played really well, did a lot of the heavy lifting, getting pummeled too, but continued to keep having a dig. I thought Kieran Foran off the bench played well. A calming demeanor when he came onto the field. Sort of settled things down a bit for the Kiwis. I also wanted to mention a special shout out to Kevin Naingama, whose international career has come to an end. He played probably the best game he's ever played for Fiji. What a way to go out. He may not have gotten the win, but he should be very proud of his performance. I think that's where we'll end it, on a little tribute to Kevin Naingama. I think also Corbin Sims, who initially wasn't even considered. He was an injury replacement and he ended up having a pretty decent tournament himself. But yeah, that side of the bracket is settled. We will have New Zealand taking on Australia in the first semi, and I've got to say, NZ, maybe that game is the type of game they needed to eventually, finally click into gear, because they're going to have to, coming up against the defending world champs. Still one game to go. The main event of the quarterfinals, Samoa taking on Tonga later tonight. But like I said, we're going to wrap it up there, boys. As always, if you enjoyed that and would like to see more rugby league related content and more content in general, be sure to sub to the channel and don't forget to straight that like button. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you later.